sure what. Okay, I don't know when that happened. But I did start it in the beginning with Esther. I'm sorry for this. Yeah, I'll have to look at this when the recording stopped. So yeah, we'll deal with that. Okay, this is to, does anyone want to say something?
No, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so I'll share the screen again. Yeah, I don't know when the recording stopped because I'm definite that I started recording. Yeah.
Actually started, so I wonder what happened.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And I'll have to look when the recording ended. So it's okay. We're still halfway. So so this so you need to make sure how you're going to protect that person, even if that person is not there, even if that individual is unknown to you, because safeguarding is everyone's responsibility. So you need to make sure that that is in place. Yeah. And then prevention, the principle also says that you must be proactive to stop safeguarding concerns from developing in the first place. So as I said, if you let this person go, he could be a pedophile in the future, even if he's your closest colleague. You need to make sure that these things should be nipped in the bud. So it's most important, one of the most critical principles of care. So when you're free from neglect and abuse, there may be a vulnerable person who still suffers lasting physical or psychological damage because of the safeguarding issue that happened with them. So you should be able to protect vulnerable individuals because you need to make sure that the harm, obviously, it's being dealt with at that time, but it should be a long-term process to deal with the consequences of that harm that took place. So safeguarding training is very important. This is to prevent harm from happening. It teaches you the signs of abuse. So you might not actually know, you might not have known what neglect meant, but this is also a safeguarding issue. And then when you have this, we have taken this course, you actually know then what comprises, what makes it a part of safeguarding. We talked about proportionality. So this is to ensure that you utilize preventive measures in order to respond to the safeguarding issues. And this is in the best possible way. So take into account the level of whatever vulnerable people there are. So you're not saying that what a person, as I said, the response should be as big as what has happened, as big as the incident that has happened. So you make sure that the safeguarding processes are proportionate. So again, it's different for different people. It involves vulnerable adults who need to make decisions. So that once, because they're not always going to be under your care. So if they're away from you, they know if such a situation happens, what does it mean? What does neglect mean? So if you have a good understanding of what neglect means, you're going to give them a good understanding of it. And then they're going to understand what situation they are in the future also and act accordingly. And build their confidence so they react proportionately. This could require you to take small, significant steps to handle an issue, and try to tackle a large issue all at once could be overwhelming for any person. And then comes partnership. Again, as I said, that partnerships, they're very important. Communication between partners is very important. We talked about how important it is to be accountable for what you've done, for what you're going to do. So you have different partnerships, and how you are dealing with those partnerships is very important. So there needs to be collaboration. You cannot work on your own. An organization cannot work on their own. So it's always important to respect that partnership. Remember to protect personal and sensitive information. Again, that's adhering to the Data Protection Act. It's only to share the data that the that person, whoever's involved in that care process, whatever they allow you to share, that could be shared if it's necessary. Otherwise, it could be not shared, actually. Coming towards one of our last slides, so accountability, it's very important. You are accountable for what you do and how you deal with people. So it needs to be transparent. So if, let's say, you're expected to be at some place, you need to be at that place no matter what. And if you don't be at that place, you're accountable. You're actually dealing with vulnerable people, putting them at risk. So it's keeping the vulnerable people as well as other people, individuals, updated about any decisions that you're making or changes that you're making. Again, the interest should be in their best, safeguarding them at their best. And at any given time, the people who are vulnerable or the people who you nominated, they should understand the role of everyone, whoever's involved in their care process. This is because you are accountable. You're giving them that person who's caring for them, whether there's a person who's helping them to bathe, whether there's a person changing their clothes. They should know that this is this person's role and this is what is expected from that person. Communicate clearly within your team and all the local authorities, whoever you're dealing with, about what your plans are. Update them with new findings and progresses that are happening. If you believe that a vulnerable person is at risk, they give you consent to disclose anything. So you need to make sure that you're accountable and you're actually, whatever you're doing is, again, it's your duty to make sure that you're giving that information, or you're sharing things about them in the best way. And if you're holding any evidence, that is again for their safeguarding issues. So there's a person who doesn't want to share any information with their loved ones, even though they live together. That's entirely up to them, and it's your duty to safeguard their rights. So analyzing why it is important for health and social care workers to demonstrate person-centered values, very, very important. Person-centeredness is very important because it keeps you grounded to what the core values are. So one of the best examples are that about you maintaining a high quality of life, making them comfortable and confident when they're in your care, so that they're emotionally, socially, and practically, they have all their needs being met. So different people have different needs. That is why every person needs to have this person-centered care. So when this is there, it makes it easier for you to deal with every person as a separate individual and just not a number. So the patients, they're likely to stick to treatment plans. When you give them respect, they feel more involved, they're more in control of the situation that they're in, and this relieves of the pressure from you. So you're not going to be after them to take their medication, to tell them about their any new event that's occurred in their lives. So when you give them that respect and that involvement is there, that control in their lives is there, makes it easier for you, actually. So a person-centered care supports people who to develop knowledge, skills, and confidence that they need to make decisions for their own health. So it's giving them the opportunity to make decisions for themselves, which is the best way to empower them. Because obviously, again, as I said, you're not going to be there throughout their decisions, and you're not going to be there forever with them. So person-centered care is important because patients are more likely to stick to treatment plans, as I said, and take their medicine. So you're not always being there to observe them. The hospitals in the UK, they're extremely strained everywhere. They're extremely strained everywhere. The resources are very sparse. You cannot make sure that if you have treatment today, you'll have treatment tomorrow for these patients. So everything, whatever, if you're making a person-centered approach, you're taking a person-centered approach, it will improve the understanding of the patient themselves, and they're understanding their situation, and they know if they have a situation in which they need to see the A&E, let's say the emergency department, they're then going there instead of just contacting the GP. So the GP might be there for other people, but the GP would not be able to cater to their requirements, and it's an emergency situation, and then they need to be there. So if that's person-centered, so you're making sure that that vulnerable person knows about what situation they are in, and what could be the consequences if they don't attend to the proper care process. And it motivates patients to adopt positive health behaviors. So it gives them the importance. They know about their long-term conditions. It makes them take control of their own health issues. So everyone feels happier, more positive, more motivated when you see when you have this whole team working towards a person-centered approach. It makes your lives easier. It makes everyone else's lives easier within the team. And it has been found through research that it is highly time efficient and cost efficient as well. So you're not spending so much time on, obviously the first time you will have to utilize a lot of time on these patients, but going forwards, you would not require so much of time whilst you're treating them. So they'll be on their own, and they'll be free to make decisions on their own. So this care and support plans would be that each person's needs and choices will be unique, and staff must do all they can to help the person convey their personal aspirations. So they need to have a say in what their treatment should be and what they prefer. So there is a care plan that you make with them, and this would, if you have, I don't know if you've seen this complaint care and support plan. So it's more patient-centered, and we'll talk about this in the next section. So this is the key differences between traditional and person-centered approach. So this is a person-centered approach, and this is a traditional care approach. So we'll talk about the differences in a nutshell. So let's say the professions, they assess the person's needs. They used to assess the person's needs, but when it's more person-centered, the care and support plans, they're developed with the person. It takes a lot of time, I agree. It would take a lot of effort, a lot of training into it, but then in the longer run, it's worth it. So previously, care planning followed a medical model of disability, that this disability is a result of this disease, and this is what the treatment should be. But then in the person-centered approach, you're following a social model of disability where there are very intricate and deep social factors also involved in a disease. It's just not a virus causing a disease. It's just not a bacteria causing a disease, which is a medical model. It's also a lot more to do with beyond this. So in the traditional care planning, there was a focus on what the person was unable to do, whereas in the person-centered approach, you're working on what their aspirations are. You're working on their strengths. You're not working on their weaknesses. So their weaknesses, you have those in mind, but you're working more to strengthen them. Previously, there was a static view of the person's ability or capacity, whereas in the person-centered approach, there's care planning, which explores potential for change, opportunities to develop capacity and ability. Previously, the professional who was at had more of a say wrote the care plans, had no input from the person, whereas now the patient has complete informed consent and they give their care plan. They share with you what their choices are. So it's everything that's so transparent that they know what's happening. They know what the consequences could be if they're not following that care plan, and they devise care plans with you, sitting with you. So previously the emphasis was on protecting the person from risk, but now it's positive risk taking, that they're okay to take risks, which are within the safeguarding domain. So the process initially it took place when it was convenient for the professional, but now you have more focused on the person who is involved in the care process. Power was with the professionals initially, but now power is shared equally. So there's an example that I'm giving to you. It's a practice example. It's the case of Mr. M. So it's Miss M. So she's Miss Margarita, let's say. So she's a 67-year-old woman, had mild mental health problems, lacked capacity to decide where to live. She had substantial medical needs, including diabetes, which was not well controlled. M was placed in a care home by a clinical commissioning group. It considered this to be the best in her interest, but she hated it. And she said she wanted to leave, or she wanted to take her own life. These risks were there. There was a court of protection that said that if M remained, Margarita, she remained in the care home, she was entitled to ask what for. She wasn't entitled, sorry. The right to life and to state an obligation to protect is not, it's not absolute, and the court must have regard to the person's own assessment of their quality of life. So that you are not deciding what their quality of life should be. It is the person themselves to decide this. So in M's case, there was little to be said for a solution that attempted to preserve her daily life without meaning or happiness. So this is the relationship between the person and the care professional, which should be there. So there's gathering information, identifying their wishes, feelings,
the network
and
it's
yeah,
not clear. The network, you need to work on the network. I don't know why it's
on the network.
it's keeping.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll make sure to work on this. Yeah. So, okay. Is it okay now?
Yes,
Okay. Sorry
it's
for this.
better now.
Yeah. So, okay. Thanks for letting me know. So it's exploring options, assessing their risks and benefits, agreeing with the plan that would be provided by you, and they should be agreeing to the plan also, delivering the care and support plan. So this Miss M, she never knew where she's going. So she was just thrown into this place. You assume that this would be better for her, that would be the best decision for her, considering that she lacked capacity. She had a mild mental health problem. She lacked capacity, so she's not able to decide for herself. She's suffering from diabetes, but then you need to make sure that you have all these relationship goals in place. So you're delivering care and support. The plan should be there according to her wishes, and monitoring and reviewing. So seeking and you never listen to Miss M. No one listened to her. And this is where she went to this extent of wanting to take her own life. So this thing should not happen in this way. So there needs to be more and more support for these individuals at all times. This is just an important point that I wanted to raise. So these are all the references that you could look at. Please, if you have any queries, please email them here, and your submission will be 2 weeks. So we will take 1 week more, preferably. I'll have to have a discussion with the team because this session has taken 2 days to complete because it was so important to work on the different very important points and discuss them with you in detail. So that's it from my side. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
None for my hand.
Okay, I'll let them know about sharing of the content with you on the Moodle site. If there's no more question, I'm happy to end the class. Have a nice day and have a nice week. I'll see you next week, Saturday.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you, Esther. Thank you, everyone. See you. Bye.
Bye.